The following is a presentation of the Eagles Sports Network.
All right, so offensively, we're young up front. We're kind of young in the backfield. We got some guys that have experience. We got a transferring quarterback who plays some at ETSU, but he doesn't really have experience here at Carson-Newman. He's got one game under his belt. So offensively, we're pretty young. We got two guys in the whole offense who started an entire season, and that's the two guys out wide in Romaine and Braxton. Other than that, we got some guys that we're trying to fit in some spots. We got some injuries now, so we're trying to slide some guys around, see what they can do. It's overall as an offense, they compete, they get after it. They're young, but they're trying to get after the defense. They're trying to make contact. They're trying to make big plays happen. They get frustrated when they can't make things happen, which is good because it shows that it's important to them. I think offensively too, I talked about my interview with Adam about the quarterback position and all, and kind of what we are as an offense. And it goes back to that mantra where we ask these guys of, who do you want to be? Who do you want to be as an offense? Who do you want to be as a person? Who are you trying to be? How do you want to be remembered? And from that, we kind of carried into our bigger overall theme of one. Right? Who do you want to be as an individual, and how does that fit into our overall scheme of who do we want to be as one? Who do we want to be as one team, one offense? How are we going to get to that point? What do you need to do to get yourself to that point? And then kind of like Coach Clowney said about the academics is, now it's not just competing against the guy beside you or the guy across from you. It's now, are you compete with yourself to make sure each and every day you've done what you need to do to keep raising the level of yourself every day. So when you go to bed at night and you look yourself in the mirror at night, can you honestly look in the mirror and say, I gave it my all every single day? And so offensively, I know it's kind of a roundabout way to get there, but these guys they're getting after it. Like I said, we got a lot of youth, a lot of inexperience, but they're trying, they're competing, and they're getting after it a little bit. Today in the scrimmage, there's some situations where we kind of had two thoughts going into it of things coaching-wise and quarterback-wise that we need to get ourselves in the right play, the right scheme. And there's times we're going to put some pressure on our guys and put them in the wrong play to see if can some of these guys make it happen anyway, to put our guys in some situations where we're not going to check out of it, and can we just go man on man and run the ball down a defense's throat? Is our line capable of doing some of that kind of stuff? Is our running backs capable of blowing up a linebacker and the other guy falling into the hole? So I think there's a couple things that we looked at today, and then some of those things fall into both categories of things that we want to take advantage of, and also there's things we hadn't worked on in a few days that we need to take advantage of, and can we go do it? So it was pleased to see that some guys stepped up today, and some guys really worked at it. Some guys got to get better, and that's bottom line. We got less than 2 weeks to go get better, and we got limited opportunities to go try to win a football game here in just a couple weeks.
Questions for Coach Pursley?
Coach, it's probably, since I've been around, it's probably the best wide receiver group, probably since 2007, I would say. For you, your second year technically, I guess, but whatever. What's it been like to implement a new offensive scheme, but have these kind of weapons that you could do?
Yeah, so it's been fun because we're a lot of the same stuff we were doing. We're still an option football team, and I fully believe in college football you got to be able to run the football in some capacity. So I'm a huge fan of the option, and it's been nice to see some of our little slot receivers and some of our bigger receivers and get them involved as the pitch man and the option, and be able to do some things out on the perimeter to get the ball spread around a little bit. Because when I think of a balanced offense, I don't think of 50% run, 50% pass. I think of how many times does certain guys touch the football and how are we getting the ball to those guys. To me, that's what a balanced offense is how can we spread the field horizontally and vertically to get it in the hands of guys who need it in their hands. So it's been fun. It's been challenging, and you need to try to figure out, all right, this guy's good at this route, this guy's good at this route. How do we make sure these guys are doing what they're the absolute best at to make sure that we can take advantage of? It is a good receiving corps. It's a good problem to have that we got some guys outside who can do some things. It's nice to have those guys in the room.
Coach Slay talked about his bad moment. I'm sure that was one of your good moments, Brad. Okay. We're used to seeing that, but at the same time, I'm sure the teams you're going to be facing are expecting that. So that's got to be a challenge to be able to still be able to accomplish these things. When certainly Braxton's not going to catch anybody by surprise this year, as far as we don't think.
That's right. So really, in game planning, we're kind of looking at a couple multiple things. One is, how do we get our best players the ball in space? And whether it's a running back, a receiver, whoever that might be, how do we give them the football? And do we get it there doing traditional plays where we're fooling them with motions and formations and things like that? Or do we get it by personnel groupings and adding a certain guy to the field to force them to over-adjust to one side so you can go to another guy? So, we take things like that into consideration of, all right, how are they going to play this certain man on this certain formation? And if we add a motion to it, how does that change the defense? Do they stay with what they got? Does it expose somebody else by going in motion? So we try to look at the bigger picture of, all right, we know what weapons we have, and I'm assuming once we get going, people are going to start figuring out a little bit too. So it is then, how do you take advantage of those weapons in different ways, but the same way?
Who's been the biggest surprise of camp for you?
I would say it's going to be a non-fun answer on this one. The offensive line. All right, I love the offensive line. They're my favorite group on the whole football team. It is a team within a team. Football's the greatest team sport there is, right? You can't do a lot if you only have one good football player. You can't do a whole lot if you only have one good O-lineman. So they're a team within a team. They always got to be communicating. Their blocks go hand in hand. You really never see a guy on an island. And if he is on an island, he's got to communicate to everybody else that he's on an island and, hey, you need to help that guy out, and I'm on myself. So the O-line has been the biggest surprise of. We've had some guys go down. We've had some injuries. But some of these younger guys who have been forced to really in the last 2 weeks become football players at the college level, that they're being thrown into the fire quick. And like today, we put some guys out there that we want to see if they're going to step up and do it. So I think just overall, that position group has been very good and very satisfying to watch.
Anything else for Coach Pursley?
But watching Carson-Newman football for the last several decades, you still have offensive linemen, as I was watching the scrimmage, that still block downhill. You don't see that everywhere. Are these guys that are coming from different high school programs, are they having to learn how to block, how to put their hand in the dirt and lean forward?
Yeah, so that's probably the biggest challenge we have every year is teaching a lineman what a three-point stance is and how to fire off, how to teach a quarterback how to take a snap under center, and how to teach running backs how to get a three-point stance. That is probably our biggest challenge of, in a lot of ways, taking these 18-year-olds and getting them to the point where they can learn the basics in a very, very quick manner of, okay, it's not just I'm at a two-point stance and I'm zone blocking, or, okay, I'm a running back and I'm standing high in a two-point stance. I can take a zone step and then kind of slow play it. And same thing with quarterbacks. It's a whole different ball game trying to read a defense from back here catching a snap than it is being under center and having to take a drop while I read a defense. And, all right, now I got to get my shoulders low because here comes a slant or whatever. And so it is tough to get those linemen to run downhill. And that's the biggest thing that Coach Guillermo has been good at with these guys is emphasizing and putting the pressure on these guys to drive off that foot. And we're not stepping, we're driving off that foot. And we're driving to that D lineman to try to get some movement. And I'm old school, man. I love running the football. I love getting in guys' face. I love being the dominant team because I think if you become the dominant team and you're out there and your linemen are cut blocking and your tight ends are cut blocking the linebackers, it slows the defense down. And so I'm all about running downhill, and I love it. But it is a challenge to get those guys to go from these two-point stances and now all of a sudden, all right, run through a guy's face,
Then once you get that, you got an opportunity to raise up and hit.
And they're pretty good, yes, that's right. And that's where, we got a bunch of I think it's very similar to what Coach Slay was saying about our secondary is
Right.
a couple years ago we had a bunch of really, really young freshmen and sophomores who were forced to start early, and then 3 years later they become really, really good juniors and seniors. So I think we're kind of in that situation now where we've got some young guys who are going to be able to do it, and they're going to get there. We just got to get them there a little faster.
Anything else for Coach Pursley?
How do you balance running downhill with using the talent you have at receiver on the outside?
So I'll be honest, I really don't. The receivers don't like this answer, nor do the running backs when I say we need to throw the football. I really don't care if we run it or throw it. I really don't. I don't care if we have 3 tight ends in the game or 5 wides or whatever it is. If running the football is working, we're going to continue to run the football. If throwing the football is working, we're going to continue to throw the football. So it's a fine balance of not are we running it too much or are we throwing it too much. It's a fine balance of what are we doing that's working, what are we doing that's not working. How do we stop doing the things that's not working and continue to do the things that are working. So if we need to go out there and run the ball 80 times in a game or throw it 80 times in a game, it truly doesn't matter to our guys or to me really. It's just that balance of how many yards are we gaining, especially on first down. Are we gaining 4 or 5 yards on first down because it's really setting us up for a good second down play. So I think that fine balance of are we doing things that are helping ourselves out both formationally, emotionally, doing things to put us in a situation to become that balanced offense of spreading it around to different guys.
Probably fair to say that the sexiest offense is score points.
That's right. Score points. That's our mantra. It is. It's funny though. That's what we say on offense is you just got to score points, man. It don't matter if you're power I or you're 5 wise air raid. How can we put points on the board? And that's the biggest thing. And it's a lot easier in a football game if the defense can just shut them out every game. We kick 1 field goal and it's 3-0, right? But in today's football game, it's probably not realistic. It's turned to basketball and turf. So a lot of ways you got to outscore guys. Saw a game last night where one team's up by about 30 points going into the fourth quarter and up losing by 12 points because football can change so fast, so rapidly in the course of the game that 1 or 2 big plays, man, that thing's over. So it's a matter of just getting points on the board.
Anything else for Coach Pursley?
I also do want to give a shout out real quick to 2 things, and really it is, Coach Slade touched on it too of, and it was to your question about how'd you get the guys to buy into the trust program. We're lucky that we have a university that allows us to talk about things that aren't just football, that we can delve into things a little bit deeper than football, and so it's nice to have these guys buy into what we're telling them with the be one and be this, because we're able to focus on academics and spiritually and everything else. So it is nice to have coaches that we get to work with every single day who are real people who truly care about these guys. Second thing, this needs to be said in every press conference we ever have or every game day. Shout out to Leanda for just the food all the time that we always have. It is unbelievable. So thank you anyway.
All right. Thank you, Coach Pursley.